But first, the story in all of sports right now. Ja Morant has been suspended 25 games by the NBA, by Adam Silver, according to Woj, according to Shams, according to all sources. So he's going to be gone for 25 games. There's also more information regarding the fact that this 25-game suspension isn't just, he has to serve the 25 games and he's back. According to Woj and Shams, this is by Shams, Ja Morant will be required to meet certain conditions by the NBA before return to action for the Grizzlies and will be ineligible to participate in any league or team activities during his suspension. So what I assume that means, and we know what assuming can do from time to time, but what I assume that means is obviously won't be able to play, won't be able to participate even in any preseason games. This also gives the indication that Ja will also not be able to practice with Memphis, which to me says a lot in regards to how serious the suspension really is. Ja also, and then I'll get to my reaction, Ja put out a statement, this is according to Woj, quote, "I've had time to reflect and I realize how much hurt I've caused. I want to apologize to the NBA, the Grizzlies, my teammates, and the city of Memphis. To Adam Silver, Zach Kleiman, and Robert Pera, who gave me the opportunity to be a professional athlete and have supported me, I'm sorry for the harm that I've done. To all the kids who look up to me, I'm sorry for failing you as a role model. I promise I'm going to be better. To all my sponsors, I'm going to be a better representation for all of our brands. And to all my fans, I'm going to make it up to you, I promise. I'm spending the offseason and my suspension continuing to work on my own mental health and decision-making. I'm also going to be training so that I'm ready to go whenever I do get back on the court. I know my teammates are going to hold it down, and I'm so sorry that I won't be out there with you at the beginning of the season. I hope you'll give me the chance to prove to you over time I'm a better man than what I've been showing you." That is from Ja Morant, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. As the great Stephen A. Smith said on ESPN First Take this morning, for the moment, we don't believe you. Now, the beauty of that is, as Josh said in a statement, now the question is, was the statement generated by ChatGPT or any other AI generator? Who knows? What we do know is that Ja issued a statement and an apology very, very, very similar to this, probably by ChatGPT, when he was suspended the first time, the 8-game suspension back in March, when he was waving a gun on IG Live in a nightclub in Denver. Now you have 2 months later, the same quote-unquote crime. Obviously, Ja did not break the law. He's not going to jail for what he did, but he did break the NBA's protocol in that regard, waving a firearm, waving a gun on IG Live with his buddy who's driving around town. For Ja individually, and then we'll get to the NBA suspending the 25 games. Is it right? Is it not? Too little, too much, just right. For Ja, and I've said this from the get-go. I said this back in March when the first situation happened, said it when the second IG Live incident happened, and I've said it since. I will continue to say it to this day. I am pulling for the kid. Listen, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. Till I die, cannot stand the Memphis Grizzlies. But the last thing I want to see is a young man throw a potentially, is it crazy to say Hall of Fame potential career in the garbage for trying to present an image that I'm not really sure he thinks he wants? What these next few months, because again, Ja suspended 25 games. So that means about early to mid-December is when he'll be initially eligible to come back should he fulfill the requirements that the NBA has laid out for him to complete. So we got 6 months basically till we'll see Ja Morant on an NBA basketball court. Obviously, we talk about how he needs to get counseling, he needs to get therapy, he needs to truly address, because he's talked about mental health numerous times. This isn't just me bringing this up. Ja's talked about, I need to find a better way to deal with stress and anxiety. I'm dealing with stuff, and I'm turning to wrong measures to solve those type of situations. Listen, if Ja does not feel safe in the environment that he is in, Ja doesn't need to carry a gun. Ja's one of the richest NBA players there is, especially one of the richest young NBA players there is. He can hire security. He can hire bodyguards. He doesn't have to worry about that. And putting himself once again in this position that he is in to this day. But also, and I've discussed this, like the two sides of the whole, is it a Ja's hanging around the wrong people thing? Or is it, as Kenny the Jet Smith said on TNT when the first suspension occurred, I never thought about this, is Ja the guy that those dudes maybe don't want to hang with? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not going to speak on Ja's character. I've never met Ja. I don't know Ja well enough, even from a distance, certainly up close and personal, to know what the type of human being he is from a character standpoint. From a just straight up, is he a good dude standpoint? I don't know. What I do know is that over the last 3 months, he has put himself in this position twice. He has compromised the league twice. And if there's anything that Adam Silver and the NBA don't want, if there's anything that any league and their commissioner and their front office don't want, it's for an individual player, particularly one of the stars of the league, to compromise the image of an entire corporation, an entire entity, an entire business. That is what Ja Morant has done. That is the very reason that Adam Silver, when he announced, remember he had that game 1 press conference before the finals, and the Ja Morant question came up, and he said something along the lines of, we're going to focus. Actually, here's his answer right here. This is Adam Silver before game 1 talking about Ja Morant.
In terms of the timing, we've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. I think since I was still asked about the situation, I would say we probably could have brought it to a head now, but we made the decision, and I believe the Players Association agrees with us, that it would be unfair to these players and these teams in the middle of this series to announce the results of that investigation. And given that we're, of course, in the off season, he has now been suspended by the Memphis Grizzlies indefinitely, and so nothing would have changed anyway in the next few weeks. It seemed better to park that at the moment, at least any public announcement. And my sense now is that shortly after the conclusion of the finals, we will announce the outcome of that investigation.
So there you go. Conclusion of the finals. We get the answer from Adam Silver. We get the answer from the NBA. It's a 25-game suspension for Ja. Ja's got to address himself. Not, again, obviously staying ready to go back in the basketball court. That's great, but that's secondary. I am a guy who I believe in second chances. Now, this is essentially for Ja a third chance, if you think about it. Because he has the first transgression, second transgression. We will see. Certainly, we are all pulling for Ja that he doesn't put himself in this position once again. Remember that first stint, and there was reports that he went to like a counseling facility or whatever in Florida, and it all felt very rushed. It just felt it didn't feel legitimate in any way, shape, or form. And then we see it happens once again. I hope Ja over the next 6 months addresses Ja, addresses the people around him, and quite frankly addresses his family. Because not to take any blame away from Ja, and I've said this from the beginning, 95% of the blame goes on Ja Morant in terms of the people he surrounds himself with and the positions he continuously puts himself in. The other 5% goes to A, the Memphis Grizzlies, and B, Ja's family. Because Ja can't cut off family. You're not going to cut off your mom, your dad, or your siblings, or whatever the case may be. His dad has put him in compromising positions. The Shannon Sharp incident back in January, then even more serious. Remember, his mom was at some type of store and she didn't like the cashier. Something the cashier said, so she called Ja, and the cashier had to hide from Ja and his friends in a closet at the store. Not to mention the other alleged incidents that Ja Morant has been involved in, with the kid last summer, with the Indiana Pacers team bus. So the question is, how does Ja address Ja, and how does Ja address the people around him? That is going to be the question over the next 6 months. As for the NBA, because I think that's been the bigger discussion. Anytime a suspension comes down for any player in any league, in any sport, we're always debating too much, too little, just right. Me personally, and I said from the jump, and certainly when Adam Silver, I think you saw in that soundbite, he alluded to the fact that they had uncovered additional information. We're not aware of that as we're sitting here today. We're not aware of what that information may be. I'm not sure we'll ever be aware of what that is, at least in the immediate aftermath of the suspension being handed down. I said 41 games. I said this is now the second time that he has violated this policy by the NBA. This is the second time he's compromised their image. And furthermore, remember before the draft lottery, Adam Silver was doing an interview and he was asked about the Ja situation. Adam Silver seemed, you ever see that person where maybe you messed up and they feel hurt and angry at the same time? That was Adam Silver, who's known for being a very even-keeled. He's the most player-friendly commissioner probably in professional sports. And so the fact that you saw that type of anger by Adam Silver, he felt betrayed. He felt like he knew that Ja had straight up lied to him. And so that was the reaction you got from the commissioner. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a half season. Now, the 25 games. Now, obviously, you based off of my preconceived notion of what it should have been, 41 games, I would think 25 games is too little. From a pure number standpoint, in terms of the volume of the suspension, yes, I think it's too little. Again, I would have given him 41 games. But I was talking to a good buddy of mine, actually is here at the Grid Network, Jamel Crothers, who just wrote a piece today, good piece on Ja Morant on the Grid Network's website, so please be sure to check that out. But we were talking about it, and he brought up a point I never even considered, the fact that Miles Bridges was suspended 30 games last offseason for domestic violence. And as time went on, we came to find out how serious that situation was and how disgusting that his actions were. Now, my counter to that would be, then Miles Bridges should have gotten more than 30 games. That's what I would say. In all honesty, he probably should have gotten the season. And who knows whether or not Miles Bridges has an NBA career whatsoever in his future. Frankly, I could give a crap. Okay, what he did to that woman. What Ja did is obviously less serious than that. But there was no way, given the precedence of the Miles Bridges suspension a year ago, was Ja going to get more than that. Because at that point, then you could have those who defended Ja, and unfortunately, there are many, say, timeout, you think a guy waving around a gun, which isn't even illegal in the state of Tennessee, is, again, a state that I live in, you don't have to have a carry permit, it's to carry a firearm. You could carry a gun in Tennessee and get a larger suspension than a guy who beat his girlfriend? Are you kidding me? And that would be based on the NBA suspension, that would be a reasonable argument. The NBA wasn't going to put themselves in that position. Again, and the key part of the suspension that nobody is talking about, it reminds me in some part of remember when Kyrie Irving was suspended this past season for the anti-Semitic posts on social media? And I forgot what the number was. It might have been indefinite from what I can't remember the exact number, but Kyrie Irving had to go through some sort of some counseling in regards to whether or not he's able to, it wasn't like I can't remember what, it was something about addressing anti-Semitic beliefs and tropes and things of that nature. So, and Kyrie Irving had to go through that and then pass through the suspension. Again, Memphis' schedule isn't out. The NBA schedule isn't out. That probably doesn't come out for another couple of months. Ja will be eligible technically to come back until early to mid-December. That's not a guarantee that that's going to be when he comes back. Because he'll have to go through, again, as Woj detailed, as Shams Ashrani detailed in his tweets as well, that Ja's going to have to go through certain measures for the NBA to clear him. And Adam Silver, who again, showed you that soundbite, didn't show you the soundbite when he was at the NBA draft lottery. He was pissed off. He was ticked what Ja put himself, put the league and put Adam Silver in a position to do what they did. He's not going to be as, I shouldn't say forgiving, he's not going to be as open to Ja coming back right off the bat unless he feels 100% certain, okay, Ja's addressed what he needs to address. We feel comfortable of him coming back out in the court. And again, as Ja pointed out, as many have pointed out, Ja is a role model to a lot of kids out there. When does the NBA feel comfortable putting him back out there? The 25 games, honestly, feels like the baseline. So while I may disagree with the sheer volume by itself individually, I thought it should have been 41. NBA gave him 25. Based on the NBA's logic of the entire situation, I get it. I get what they were coming from in terms of the Miles Bridges suspension a year ago and in terms of what Ja's going to have to go through in order to come back into the NBA. So very, very nuanced situation, and can't imagine that this is the last we'll hear in terms of the information that we'll get over the coming months and going into next season. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.